Leave me, leave me. You thrashed your limbs, hitting the back as he carried you on his shoulder. Your screams echoed through the empty hallway, along with the sound of his Chelsea's boot hitting against the floor. Let me go. You wiggle your legs, using your full strength to free yourself from him, but he didn't buzz, as though your blows were nothing more than a feathery touch. Shut up, he growled in his husky voice and hooked his other arm around your legs, thereby blocking your motions completely. You heard the click sound and looked back to find him entering the room you were kept hostage for the last 1 month. Let me go, please. I had nothing to do with you. But he ignored your pleadings and entered the room. He threw you on the bed and your petite body bounced on the mattress. You got up almost instantly and rushed towards the door, but he held your arm and pulled you back to stand in front of himself. Your eyes met his blank, dark gaze and a shiver ran down your spine. Trying to escape again? He mocked. A sinister smirk edged across his face. It did nothing except igniting a fire within you. His grip on your arm tightened as he observed the visible anger on your face. Oh, little wife got angry. He mocked yet again. Your jaw ticked, and his mouth widened, knowing he had hit the right nerve. You clenched your fist and met his eyes with your rageful gaze. I am not your wife. Get this thing in your head, you sick man. Jungkook shook his head as a dry chuckle escaped his lips. Never had someone's laugh sounded so scary to you as his mere chuckle was. He yanked you closer as your front touched his. You stifled a squeal at his sudden move. Your heartbeat skyrocketed as you observed his eyes turning blank, his expressions unreadable. His hand slid down from your arm and intertwined with your hand. He raised your hand to your face and jutted his chin towards it. See the ring in our fingers, little wife. We are married, and you. He snaked his arm around your waist and yanked you closer so that your face was a few inches away from his. Are my wife. You were terrified. Your heart pounded against your ribcage, ready to jump out of its cage. But you didn't let your fear show on your face. You wrenched your hand out of his grip and pushed him back with your whole strength. His grip loosened, but he didn't move an inch. You stepped away from him. You and I are not married. You forcefully made me sign the marriage certificate. Shrugged his shoulders, his mark remained intact and it intensified your anger. Doesn't matter. What matters is that you are my wife, my possession. I am nobody's possession. You are. You are my property. Remember your father sold you to me. Long gone was your fear as rage filled you. Your body trembled with anger as you struggled to keep your hand to yourself. I am not a thing that my father sold and you bought. I am a human, got it? I have rights that nobody, not even my father and you sick head can take away from me. I want to leave from here and I will. You can't stop me. You gritted out, your voice calm but determined. You should know that you were not an easy person. Well done. That's how a mob boss wife behaves. But for the outside world, you must oblige what I said. Because you are mine, everything about you is mine. Your mind, your heart, your soul, and your body. He was cut off and a hard slap landed on his cheek. His jaw clenched, his eyes filled with anger as he darted his darkened gaze at you. You shivered on your spot, realizing you called for trouble in your anger. In two long strides, he pinned you to the nearby wall, his hand on your throat, choking you harshly. Nobody got the right to raise their hands on me, John Jungkook. Not even your little wife. His grip tightened on your throat. Your lips parted as you gasped for air. Your eyes rolled back. Your body trembled due to lack of oxygen. You are the devil's possession, and only one thing can separate you from me. He tilted his head, enjoying the sight of you struggling for air. Leaned forward to your ear. Only death. Your eyes widened as you heard his words. He was a psycho. His grip further tightened on your throat, cutting off your air completely. You saw white and black dots appear in front of you. Your knees weakened. You were on the verge of passing out. When you thought you were about to lose your consciousness, he loosened his grip from your throat and stepped back. You collapsed on the floor, sucking the air hungrily. Your vision was still hazy as you lay still on the floor. Jungkook smirked at the sight of you. It gave him pleasure that he was in charge. He liked to keep everything under his control, especially his newly found obsession. He tossed and mocked as he bent down in front of you. What is this, little wife? Can't even take a little punishment from your husband? But my fault. I have spoiled you a lot. He shook his head as he slid his hands under your thighs and cradled you in his arms. You were too drained out to fight back after experiencing a near death experience. He laid you on the bed and sat beside you. Opening the bedside drawer, he brought out an ointment. He slowly applied it to your neck. You know, little wife, I really don't like to punish you, but you are so stubborn. You always press me to teach you a lesson. You looked at him with half open eyes as he gently applied the ointment to your bruise given by he himself. He was hard to understand. It was very difficult to decipher what was going on in the sick head of his. He put the ointment aside and bent down to kiss your forehead. He glided his fingers through your hair. Rest here, little wife, and don't you dare to pull any stunt. I can assure you won't like the punishment this time. He rose from the bed and left the room. As usual, he left the room unlocked. There were plenty of ways you could escape, but none of those was effective. Just like today or any other time, he caught you again. You sighed as you thought about a way to escape. Ain't no way I can escape by being rebellious. I need to do something else. Something very effective that would lead me out of this mess. Away from my good for nothing father and this unwanted husband. Jungkook was about to leave for work when suddenly you jumped in front of him. Good morning. You smiled at him. Jungkook raised his eyebrows, surprised by your sudden appearance, and he was more astonished by seeing you smiling at him. He looked at you from head to toe. Dressed in a long pale yellow dress, you looked absolutely gorgeous. Well, mornings have never been so good. He crossed his arms across his chest and tilted his head. The corner of his lips lifted in a slow smirk. Every fiber of your body provoked you to blow a punch across his neck, but you somehow controlled yourself. Your smile didn't falter, not even for a second. Where are you going? Jungkook crooked his eyebrows, a look of amusement marring his face. Uh-huh, why? You want to come with me? His mouth widened. He was enjoying this. No, I'm just asking. You pouted and cried aside for doing so, but anything for freedom. He chuckled dryly as he sensed your intentions. What are you up to, little wife, huh? You know you can't escape from me, especially not with this innocent facade of yours, because I know you are anything but innocent. You mentally rolled your eyes. Of course, he wasn't a fool who would fall for your innocent tactics. I'm just trying to be a good wife for you. Oh, yeah? Why this sudden change of mind, little wife? Seems like the punishment did showed its magic. You had the strong urge to curse him, but you didn't want your emotions to ruin your plan. So you just smiled, a rather sweet smile, which shocked the emotionless man. I know it's sudden, but I have accepted you as my husband. I mean, you are a good man if I stop being stubborn now. He stared at you for a moment before bursting into laughter. Even his laughter sounded devilish. He didn't lie when he said he was a devil. Even darkness was afraid of his wicked man who was terrifyingly unpredictable. Having him around means walking on a rope. You fall, you lose your life. Oh, I thought you were a wise human, but you are naive. Little wife, I'm not good. Not for you, not for anyone. I'm only good for myself. But yeah, I can cut you some slacks as you are my little wife. His lips curved into a devilish smile. Anyways, I made breakfast for you. Come, let's eat. You wrapped your arms around his bicep and dragged him towards the kitchen. He didn't protest either and followed you silently. He couldn't deny that he liked the side of yours. Jungkook looked surprised as he looked at the different dishes on the dining table. You prepared all this? You smiled and nodded as you made him sit on the head chair. I didn't know what you liked, so I prepared whatever came in my mind. You served him breakfast and he looked at you with a slight smirk. Why don't you join my little wife? If you had added poison in the food, we will die together. Your eyes widened as he mentioned poison. Why would I do this? You are my husband. I won't ever think about killing you. I will, if that is meant for my freedom. You gave him a tight little smile, now regretting not adding poison to the food. Oh yeah? He crooked his eyebrows and tugged at your hand. A squeal escaped your lips as you lost your balance and landed on his lap, wrapped his arms around your waist, blocking any path of escape. Now that you have cooked food for me with so much love, why don't you feed me as well? Come on, be a good little wife. He smirked, tightening his grip around your waist. You shuddered, clenching your fist on his shoulders. You wanted nothing more than moving miles away from this wicked man. Sure, anything for my husband. You smiled and smirked internally upon noticing his expressions faltering. He didn't expect this. He thought you were putting up an act which you would soon drop if he pushed your limits. Here, open your mouth. He parted his lips, taking in the bite you had offered him. Soon you were done feeding him while he was staring at you, still confused about your sudden change of mind. Please come back early. I'll be waiting for you. Jungkook crooked his eyebrows as you tiptoed and pressed a kiss on his cheek. What are you up to, little wife? I'm just trying to accept the situation and make the best out of it. Don't you trust me? He chuckled, rather mocked your words with a chuckle. Trust? I don't even trust my shadow, and you are asking me if I trust you. Suddenly, your conversation was interrupted by an unknown presence. A buffed man walked inside and bowed in front of Jungkook. She, you need to keep an eye on her, Marco. You blinked your eyes in confusion as you looked between the man and Jungkook. What do you mean? Who is he, Jungkook, and why are you asking him to keep an eye on me? Jungkook smirked, averting his gaze at you. He'll be here after I leave and before I come back. He'll keep track of your moves so that you don't pull another silly stunt. He tilted his head, looking at you up and down. Tried your best not to show your inner sentiments, knowing he was skilled in reading one body language. But there is no need. I won't do something like this again. I have accepted everything. Good for you. Then you shouldn't have any issue with him staying here. Marco? He darted a knowing glance at Marco, who nodded obediently. Take care, little wife. He patted your cheek and left after darted another glance at Marco. You stiffly groaned of annoyance. He had successfully ruined your plan. Your intentions were to gain his trust and flew away, but how would you deal with this new hurdle named Marco? You walked around the kitchen cooking lunch for yourself. You stole brief glances at Marco, who stood at a little distance, noting your every move as ordered by Jungkook. He didn't bother you or enter in your personal space, but he kept following you everywhere, keeping a keen eye on your tiniest of movement. He is for sure his henchman. He is not even blinking. How will I get rid of him? You mumbled to yourself, forcing your brain to weave another plan. Soon, an idea popped up in your head. You walked towards Marco with a smile. Hi Marco, I'm Ryan. You forwarded your hand for a handshake, but he just glanced at your hand and didn't make a move to acknowledge your friendly gesture. You took your hand back, grinding your teeth in frustration. You can sit, you can continue your work by sitting too. He said nothing and kept his emotionless face on. You gave up and about to leave, but you decided to try one more time. You know, Marco, I had an elder brother. His name was also Marco, but You pretended to cry and wiped your crocodile tears. My alcoholic father killed him. I miss him so much. You faked soap and looked at him, observing his changed expressions. You knew you had struck the right spot. You took a deep breath, pretending as though you were gathering your emotions. You reminded me of him. Don't cry. He used to say the same whenever I cried. You smiled as you wiped your fake tears. I cooked my brother's favorite meal. Will you eat? He hesitated, finding an excuse to say no. Please. He nodded instantly after you faked a sad expression. Thank you. Have a seat. I'll bring food for you. Sat down on the nearby chair. You smirked as you turned around and went back to the kitchen. Studying psychology is worth it. You mumbled to yourself. You had no regrets about manipulating him emotionally because these people were no saint either. You stood in front of Jungkook's room with a pillow in your arms. You were on another mission. From the two targets, Marco was down, but Jungkook wasn't an easy one. You had a lot to do to change his perspective towards yourself. You knocked on the door, pushing back the doubts and the uncertainties. However, your nervousness rose when you heard his footsteps approaching and the door clicked open. You swallowed and smiled when he darted a surprised glance at you. Hi, what do you want, little wife? He tilted his head, glancing at the pillow in your hand. I want to sleep with you. He chuckled darkly. Oh, yeah? I'm down for some workout. Come in. Your eyes widened when you understood the meaning behind his words. No, I mean, we are husband and wife. Shouldn't we share a room? He stared at you for a moment and opened the door wide for you to enter. You quietly went to his bed and lay down on one side. His room smelled like him. Crossed his arms, looking at you lying on his bed. Closed your eyes, pretending to be asleep. Shook his head, a sinister smirk made its way to his lips. He peeled off his sweatshirt and jumped on the bed beside you, pulled you closer by your waist, stifled a scream at sudden move. I don't know what's going on in your little head, but I like your submissiveness. You scoffed internally and sighed, feeling him nuzzle his face in your hair. Anything for freedom, be it staying close to you and obliging to your words. Just a few days more. Thought and closed your eyes, drifting off to sleep. You sobbed as you cleaned the kitchen. Jungkook had left for work and Marco was yet to come. Soon you heard his footsteps approaching towards the kitchen. Hey, good morning, YN. Morning. You continued work without facing him. It's been 2 weeks since you were continuing your act, and Marco was completely down for your acting skills. He had accepted you as his little sister. Are you crying? He asked, driven by your yet another act. You turned around, and his eyes widened, looking at you straight. You had a bruise near your lips. Your one eye had turned blue, one cheek swollen, and many more bluish bruises on your arms and neck. Who did this to you? You sobbed even more as he asked so. You palmed your face, crying more, but your main intention was to reveal the bruise on your wrist. Who did this to you, Ryan? Just tell me his name. Your brother will protect you. Jungkook, you whispered as you removed your hands from your face. Marco fell silent and lowered his eyes. He chuckled mockingly. I know you can't fight against him. I wish there was someone who could take me out of this mess, someone who could save me from this daily torture. I wish my brother was alive. He would have never let me go through this. You cried, observing Marco's reaction from your peripheral vision. I will help you escape from here. Your eyes lit up as you heard his words. Finally, your hard acting of 2 weeks was going to pay off. He stepped closer and patted your head. I will help you go far from away from here. Really? Thank you, brother. You held his hand and cried, pressing your forehead against his palm. This time, your tears were real as you saw a hope of escaping from the mess. Let me treat your wounds, come. Your eyes widened as he offered to treat your wounds. You shook your head instantly. You didn't want the makeup to come off as he applied ointment. You put hours into looking like an abused, helpless woman. You didn't want your efforts to go in vain. No, it's okay. I'll do it myself. You have food I prepared for you. You served food for him, diverting the topic within a moment. Just a few days more, and you would be free. Jungkook, can I go out today? You asked as you made his tie, snaked his arms around your waist, and shook his head. No. Please, I want to bake a cake for you, and I need ingredients for that. Okay, I'll go with Marco. Will that be okay with you? He glanced at Marco and looked back at you. Okay, but remember, don't you dare to pull any stunt. You smiled widely and nodded. You hugged him and looked at Marco, who gave you a thumbs up. Thank you. I'll come back soon. Never. Thank you, Marco. You clutched the passport in your hand and closed your eyes. Marco managed to arrange passport for you, and now he was driving you to the airport. Soon you would be miles away from him. You inhaled deeply, relishing the first air of freedom. But suddenly the car stopped with a screech. You opened your eyes and looked at Marco. What happened? Why did you stop? He didn't reply and kept looking at the front with a horrified expression on his face. You followed his gaze and your breath hissed in your throat when your eyes met the pair of those dark eyes you never wanted to see again. He was sitting on his car bonnet like a king, and his henchmen were scattered everywhere. He twirled his gun on his index finger and jumped down. His shoe ticked against the concrete pavement as he walked up to your car. You didn't get the proper time to process the situation as he loaded his gun and shot two times, right in the middle of Marco's forehead. Your heartbeat slowed down as the blood splashed on your face as though a hard slap of reality. Marco died because of you. Shall we go, little five? Unless you have yet another plan ready. He chuckled as he opened the car door and dragged you out. No, no, let me go. Tighten his grip around your wrist and hold you inside his car. You kept protesting, but your movements halted abruptly when he pointed his gun at your forehead. You held your breath as he drove back to his mansion. Leave me. You twisted your wrist, trying to free yourself as he dragged you to the terrace. He pushed you towards the edge and pointed his gun at you. Jump. Your eyes widened at his command. Look down and notice the concrete rough pavement down there. There was no way you could survive after jumping from a four-story mansion and landing on a tough surface. No, you gritted out, glaring at him. He smoked devilishly. You wanted freedom, but not by losing your life. He loaded his gun and fired in the air. No worries, I'll use my gun. Pointed his gun at your head. You instantly climbed on the edge and faced him. There is no way I'll give you the privilege of taking my life. He threw his gun aside and stepped towards you. Remember, I said only death can separate you from me. He exclaimed, and before you knew it, he gave you a hard push. Yourself in the air and looked up at him. He smiled and waved at you. You smiled and closed your eyes. If you could get freedom at the cost of your life, be it that way. Body hit the hard floor and you felt an extreme amount of pain shooting in your bones. A cold liquid leaked from your head, but all the pain was momentary as you were already on your way to heavenwards. A serene smile edged across your face as you embraced your freedom. What? Where's the thief? Jungkook jolted up from his deep slumber and held the table lamp. He looked around with wide eyes, trying to spot the thief. His eyes fell on the empty bed. Wait, where's my wife? The thief stole my wife? But why her when I have so many prized possessions? Baby, wifey, witch, where are you? He looked beneath the blanket or even under the mattress, but his wife wasn't there. Then he heard a loud cry. His eyes widened and he looked at the other side of the bed. You were lying on the floor, crying with an open mouth. What happened to you? Why are you crying? And why are you on the floor? Hearing his voice, you sat up and glared at him. You evil! You killed me! Huh? Me? He pointed at himself. Yes, you. You are an evil mafia and you pushed me off the terrace. Jungkook blinked his eyes, giving you a look as though you had grown two horns. Me? Evil mafia? I pushed you off the terrace. I killed you. Yes, 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 and I'll take revenge. He smacked your head. You winced and glared at him. Stop reading those fictional stories. You have lost your mind and you will make me lose my mind someday. But you, no buts. I'm a kindergarten teacher, remember? Cruel mafia? Oh my goodness. He shook his head in helplessness and lay down on the bed. But you pushed me off the terrace. You mumbled, climbing on the bed beside him. One more word from your mouth and I'll throw you off the balcony. No, no, I'm sleeping. You covered yourself with the blanket and closed your eyes. Jungkook waited for you to fall asleep and pulled the book from under the bed. God, I have got a crush on this Kim Namjoon, the cruel mafia. He giggled to himself as he read the book from his wife's collection.